understanding. Doesn't it make sense to say, yes, it is true, absolutely true, that everybody on earth can be prosperous as defined in terms of dollars and cents and possessions, and have that same sense of safety and security and prosperity and freedom that we all crave naturally, intuitively, instinctively. We all want that thing because we know what will bring us happiness. We know this on an intuitive level, okay? It's instinctual. We know that we don't like burden. And when we know that paying our bills is a burden, when a cost of living, simply living, is a burden, and this was not a burden that was cast upon us by our divine parents, by God Almighty, by our Creator, our owner. This is one that was invented by these usurpers of the truth, of the immutable laws that we should be living by, like treating each other the way that we want to be treated. Nobody gets away with anything. God's not stupid. He's not going to misjudge anybody. If you've been living to the best of your honest ability by the golden rule, God's not going to send you to hell. But you've got to be honest, and if you're lying, He's not going to buy a lot of rationalization, a lot of psychobabble that's rattling around in your head, my head, or anybody else's head. So just understand that fact alone. So when I talk about being reasonable, this is serious business. This is your eternal destiny at stake here. So let us be reasonable and admit the truth. And the truth is that there is plenty for everybody, and that it would be a completely different reality, a completely different world, a completely different paradigm if we were simply living by the reality that our divine parents want for us. And that this reality is a miserable contrast. It's a dark and evil contrast to the light of truth that we should all be living by. Okay, when we are living like a family, when we really are treating one another the way we want to be treated, and living by that credo in all our affairs, and saying, this is the only life for me. But that day is coming. As much as it looks very negative, and a lot of people can get very pessimistic, and it looks like a losing battle, it will turn around. And I'm not saying that just to be pretentiously encouraging. I mean that because I know that good is stronger than bad, that right is stronger than wrong, truth is stronger than lies, and the light is stronger than the darkness. These are scientific facts, okay? There's scientific basis for believing the things I'm trying to get across to people. So eventually, humanity will be 100% free from the chains that bind us, that these money masters have laid on us. Okay, we've just got to see through it. We've got to say, aha, he's right, I get it. Now, how do we get sound currency? Well, this is why I say, look, it's probably going to take what the Bible calls the return of Jesus. This is the period when everything negative goes, okay? Even the renewal of all things on earth. We're talking about physical aspects, like ecological aspects, like it never is going to be too cold. It's never going to be too hot. The sun won't even ever be too bright. These are specific aspects that are listed in the Bible that are going to take place and change. So if you think it's a dramatic change to all of a sudden be cast into a society void of money, that whole concept is gone. It's cast as far as the east is from the west. It's gone. It's out of the picture. Well, just understand there's going to be a lot more things that are going to change. But we know that decent, upright leaders have tried in vain to bring egalitarianism to fruit. Okay, they tried to bring it like JFK with the sound currency, tried to bring true Americana to America. Okay, egalitarian principles, a rising tide of prosperity across the board. One can understand with sound currency how that's possible. This is what he tried to give us. A big taboo. You see what happened to him. So the time has got to be right. And I think guys like Rand Paul, he was kind of, walking on eggshells a little bit because he didn't say, that he was going to abolish the Fed. He probably would have got widespread applause, but, maybe he doesn't fancy the idea of getting his brains blown out. But, really a person that's going to be in that high political arena, they've got to be, you can't be a coward. And really, I don't think he's got anything to worry about anymore. I think these people have been neutered. They've been so badly and roundly exposed that, they're treading on thin ice. The Federal Reserve bankers are treading on thin ice. A private group of bankers, no more federal in terms of being governmental than the delivery service, for crying out loud. So, their whole name is a facade. It's a charade. It's a guise. It's a pretense. Okay, they're not working for we the people. That's what a government is supposed to do. Not only is a government, any true legitimate government supposed to be working for we the people. It's supposed to consist of we the people. So all our interests are taken into account. Not some of our interests with exclusive privilege for some. No, it's got to be all of our interests. So understand what a mess the world is today and what it's going to take to overturn this thing, okay? And we've got the government, the politicians, these statesmen, if you want to call it euphemistically, the honorable this or that, in Congress and Senate and everything else, these high positions of power, they are now collaborating with private interests. This is why there's such an uproar about the TPP and these private secret trade agreements they don't want people to know. Monsanto and the Dark Act, they don't want us to know what's in our food because they're putting poison in it. They don't want us to, they don't want that information to come out in mass because they'll be out of business. So it's all about money. They're another evil, and it's all about money. They don't want us to know they're spraying our skies doing this weather modification program. But remember, these are somebody's jobs rather than making these compounds they're spraying and all the equipment necessary and the planes, everything else. So remember, all the problem, it's about the money. The money is the root of all the evil, not some of the evil, all of the evil. Every single last bit of the evil can be traced to the money. So we've got to clear our minds. We've got to, even if it's the hardest thing, we can't understand, we can't seem to really believe that we could ever imagine a world without money. Turn to your parents, turn to God Almighty, who loves you more than anybody else. He loves you more than you can love yourself. He loves you more than everybody that loves you, genuinely loves you. Combined, he loves us, okay? And he is more intelligent than all those people combined. So turn to that wisdom. He's more capable. He's stronger and better in every way than everybody that loves us and knows it. Everybody out there, okay? And he gives us the wherewithal. He's the only way that I'm able to stand. I tell you, the only way I'm able to cope. Because I'm just as fallible, I'm just as subject as being a sinner as everybody else out there. So I get my human side. So just remember, I'm never, I'm never trying to be the wise guy here. I'm just saying, look, let's be reasonable. Let's live together as brothers and sisters, care about others, intensely. Understand how many suicides out there are caused from financial distress. This is serious business. So this matter of money, we've got to get to the bottom of it. We've got to really, really, really understand it has to be gone someday. So the only way to get that is, again, with sound currency. And since the likelihood of attaining sound currency is a snowball's chance in Hades, because there's so much resistance, but you fight the good fight. You do what you can. That's why I make these videos. If I gave up, I wouldn't bother. Sometimes I get critical of, Alex Jones and some of his reporters and the things they say. I mean, I'm sure that some of the reason why they have the views they have is because they're trying to please their master, their employer, which is logical. That's the way we are, right? So if they know their master, their employer believes a certain way, well, they're going to try to embrace that belief. And if they think that, raising minimum wage is going to cause inflation, I've got to correct all of them. I'm sorry, it's what a friend does, And I feel like I'm friends, and I respect his operation. I admire the man, and actually it was Alex Jones that he's a big part of why I even started making videos. I felt, look, if this guy can be so outlandish, so outspoken, exercising his First Amendment, I feel like I got something to share. I got something to say, so I'm going to get out there and do it. So I owe this guy a huge debt of gratitude. Don't get me wrong. And the rewards I get from what I do are great. Just great in the sense that I'm getting things off my chest. I'm doing what I feel I need to do. I feel commissioned. I feel compelled to do what little part as a human being, God's child, though, my role is important, but it's also insignificant in the sense that, the world's not going to come to an end if I fall off the earth tomorrow. But it's also important that I just be a good servant and go out there and try to help my fellow man. But it's also a selfish motivation, because the more I help other people to understand, then the more, I clear my slate of understanding. I know more, and I can grow more as a human being. It frees me up as more people understand. They're able to become teachers and teach basic economic principles to others, the why and wherefore your currency is supposed to go up in worth if it's sound. And you can point to the evidence of why your currency is definitely, no doubt about it, unequivocally unsound. You see, this is what I get from what I do. But I've got to point out, when, he wants to say minimum wage is, a cause of inflation, I say, wait a minute. Let's not get into the chicken or the egg thing here. This is an opportunity to point to the market manipulator, to point to the causers, to the price fixers, to the colluders, to the special interest groups. And even when that special interest group is the government, the purported government, then you do what you have to do. And it is the government is in on it. Okay, let's just point to all the people that have had an interest in manipulating the price of your housing upward. Real estate agents, why? Because they make more in terms of commission. Lenders, same reason. They make more in terms of commission. And then the residual pay from interest that's being paid on notes and loans. The money printers, of course, the Federal Reserve, is no doubt, they put nations, states, and individuals in debt, when really their only job is supposed to get a tiny percentage for getting the contract to print the money. What do they call that? Seigniorage or something. But, that's all they're supposed to get. But their role is definitely, they have usurped a lot more power than they're supposed to have, this Federal Reserve. So they're in on it. With the debasement of the currency, they debt, well, we pay it back with bigger numbers, but, worth, smaller worth, less worth. So you see how this thing works out mathematically, this trickery, this sorcery that they've conjured up. So who else is in on it? Well, all your housing flippers, your speculators, your investors, your landlords, your property managed groups, and even often your innocent little homeowner who says, well, that's equity. Don't criticize that. That's capitalism, when nothing could be further from the truth. You can't have capitalism work when you've got unsound currency. All we've got is fascism, folks. Okay, and crony capitalism is far too polite a term for it. This really is fascist. It really is. That's when the government, these people, their paycheck is from tax dollars. Okay, that's what makes them a government worker. Whether it's city, county, state, or federal worker, or a quasi-agency, quasi-proxy thereof, whatever the case may be, these people are all on the dole, okay? Whatever job they're doing, if it's governmental and their paycheck is being made from the tax base, then that is the government. And when those people start conspiring with private interests, private corporate interests, like the Federal Reserve bankers, like the real estate industry, like the lending industry, okay, then you see we've got a big problem. We've got a monopoly, a behemoth of a monopoly. It's just all these sundry special interest groups that have a common interest in manipulating any given market. And remember, all you need to do is to manipulate a market, a commodity, of which there is no escape. This falls under the category of essential human need.